One of the most important facets of any business is customer service. In business, you are not only selling a product or a service, but an experience. Providing exceptional customer service and developing real relationships with your clients means increased sales, retain customers, new customers via word of mouth, and a positive reputation. You're listening to the Focus on Customer Experience podcast. Benjamin Del Grosso gives you the ins and outs of one of the most underlooked aspects in business today. Improve your customer service and watch your business skyrocket. 2, 1. Now, here's your host, Benjamin Del Grosso.
Hello and welcome to the show. Today we have another Canadian here on the show. He went from earning a $15 an hour to consulting for, if I'm reading this correct, $100 billion telecommunications company. That's pretty crazy.
That was one of them. Yeah, that was one of the companies that I had got hired to consult for.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So you're in Toronto. You were telling me you have some restaurants and you also do some consulting.
I don't do any consulting anymore. I do because it just for sake of time. I will meet with individuals for a coffee and share some expertise, but nothing formal because my time is dedicated to building my fast casual restaurant brand called Brass Peruvian Kitchen, and this is the brand that I'm looking to scale, first starting in Toronto, Ontario, and then looking at the US market. I do keynote speaking as well, but because of the pandemic, that came to a screeching halt. But my time is dedicated to Brass Peruvian Kitchen and using customer experience and company culture strategies to be able to grow it.
That's awesome. So, yeah, tell us a little bit more about what's so special about your kitchen, your restaurant.
Well, the food first and foremost. We're a restaurant brand. We have to have phenomenal food, and our feedback has been great from our customers and our guests. We have this brand to help popularize Peruvian gastronomy, and we do so by having a menu that North Americans are familiar with, such as salads and warm bowls and smoothies. But our differentiating point, and that makes us completely different than other fast casual brands in the market, is that we leverage Peruvian ingredients and exports. I'm Canadian Peruvian, so I know the gastronomy very well. But aside from that, the business element to it is bringing a level of hospitality to fast casual restaurants that has never been seen before. That is the goal. And how do we do that? We do that by having a very people first culture within our organization. And in 2018, I wrote and published a book called People First Culture: Build a Lasting Company by Shifting Your Focus from Profits to People. And the subtitle of that book might be a little misleading to some people. I do believe in earning a profit. I have shareholders to serve, but there's a right way to do it. And before we jumped on and started recording, we talked about how some employers just treat their team members and employees poorly, or even just giving them the bare minimum. And I think that's wrong. I think it's fundamentally wrong. Today, our restaurants are open, and I'm not serving my customers, right? It's our team members like Marielle and Natalie and Vanessa and Miko. Those are the individuals that serve our customers and build rapport with them. They're building the products that they eat and enjoy. So should me as a CEO and founder put himself first? The pyramid needs to be upside down because of the fact that I just shared with you. Our customers don't know who I am. They don't care who I am. I don't serve them. While I do go into our stores and I will work a shift once a month so that I'm not far disconnected from our brand and our expectations of our customers, I'm very genuine when I say this, and it's not a soundbite, is that I work for our team. Um, and I find that they're actually more important than me. I have my responsibilities, of course, as founder and CEO. I have shareholders to serve and, you know, big responsibilities. But on a day-to-day level, at the ground level, on a day-to-day basis, it's our team members that need to come first. And we're doing well. We're profitable. Our customers love our food. They love the experience that we get, that they're receiving. So we're doing the right thing, and it's producing results.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because that's the thing. At the end of the day, if you take care of your employees are going to take care of your customers, and then your customers are going to be happy.
Yeah, so that's obvious, right? Like, and I agree. Like everybody, we're not. You and I aren't going to argue about that. Nobody would argue that. But so if there's no argument to be had, why doesn't everybody do it? Right? Like the writing's on the wall. Starbucks is, I didn't check what their market cap was today, but they're a multi-billion dollar company. And yes, there's, some unionization happening, but I would believe that they're a good corporate citizen. They made billions of dollars, and they were the first company in America to give healthcare to part-time and full-time employees. The first company in America to pay for, university tuition through a partnership with Arizona State University. So they served many people, right? Not to mention the philanthropic stuff they do. So I share that with you because there's case studies like this. So why doesn't everybody operate this way? And I distill it down to a few reasons. One of which is some people are just jerks. They only know how to take care of themselves. Arrogant individuals. And I'll be honest, they often be male CEOs. And, I can say that because I am one, and I worked with many of these people. They just don't know how to care about people other than themselves. And quite frankly, I think it's sociopathic, but this isn't a podcast on therapy, and I'm not a therapist. So I'll move past that one point, but it's true. Some people are just rude and only in it for themselves. The second is the ability to think long-term. So Benjamin, think about, the idea that the responsibility that leaders have is, amongst others, is grow the business. Okay, grow top line and bottom line revenue, or you grow your top line and your bottom line. In a world where Google AdWords, in a click of a button, you can pay Google to profile yourself through search. You could have results the very next day. You can see your click-through rate. You can see people actually, like your ads working. You see something happen over 24 hours. And that helps your top line and possibly your bottom line. But if I was to say, okay, we need to invest money and time into building our company culture, and that will require X, Y, and Z, and take this amount of time, we're not going to see the return on investment or our efforts for months, depending on how big the company is, maybe years. So that's why part of the reason people shy away from building their customer-centric culture and serving team members is because some people are just living day over day. They don't have the ability to think long-term. And for publicly traded companies, it's actually the hardest because they have to report to the street every 3 months. But for private companies, for small companies, you can make those investments. Some of them are just time. It's not money. For example, let's say your business is not delivering a great customer experience. One of the first things that I would look at is, how are we hiring people? Are we hiring people who have a customer-centric DNA about them? They're just like that hospitable person that has a sunny disposition and your customers love them. Okay, if you say no, we're actually not hiring that profile right now. That's part of the problem. So it's not that you have to spend money to make the problem go away. Well, you have to go reevaluate how you interview to make sure that you find those customer-centric employees. But that will take some time, right? And in a world where You can throw money at Google or Instagram to show your ads. It's a hard, so it's hard for people to be able to look past those short-term wins or those short-term opportunities.
So we're talking, you brought up long term. And, I'm part of a certain networking group. And the big thing, the big message they always put to us is to think long term. And one of the things they say is so many people want to find an employee that already has it all. Well, guess what? You're not going to find an employee that has it all. And if you do, they're hard to find. They're diamond in a dozen, right?
And expensive.
Yeah. So build them, hire people and build them, have a proper onboarding process, have a proper training process. And if you do that, now you're building your own talent. You're not inheriting somebody who has those bad habits that when they worked somewhere else. You're taking somebody, you're training them and making them basically buy into your company culture, right? So, I mean, is that something that is that something you do or focus on? Is like building employees and training programs?
Yeah, there's a balance between the two, right? I have a team member who earns $140,000 a year because he comes with expertise and he's a proven professional, right? But now to balance everything out, I can't pay everybody $140,000 a year. To balance it out, we have junior talent who we do pay well, but we know that we need to groom them to become stars. And that's how we balance out the expense side of it. But I'll tell you something very, something that lights me up is seeing new team members, junior team members develop new skills and seeing them break through. That makes me feel good about myself because I've been able to serve somebody. And that goes back to my first point of why don't every company operate this way, is because you have to be a servant leader. You have to be benevolent. You have to be willing to invest in people in time. And that's long-term, as you referenced. Just on Tuesday of this week, 2 days ago, we had a meeting with our three managers, and my director and I let them know that we're giving them a $10,000 a year raise, each one of them. And they earned it because they followed our guidance and our mentorship, and they're executing and their stores are performing well. I can tell you that I felt more joy when we made that announcement than I did when I got our P&L on the 10th of the month and showed that we made a profit, because there's that human element, right? Those team members go back to their homes. They speak to maybe their partners or their friends or their mother or father and say, I got a raise, right? Like that is the part of business that needs to be celebrated more than some guy trying to buy Twitter.
That's the hot topic today. So
that's my soundbite for you.
So I will say this because I want to bring up a little bit more on the long-term thinking. So I've worked for a lot of employers that what ends up happening is, because we're talking about why is it that we think this happens? Why is it that not everybody does it? We feel it's like common sense and everybody should be doing it, but why aren't they? And I've worked for a lot of employers, entrepreneurs, I guess we could call them. And what ends up happening is they have a bad month. They don't know how to handle that bad month. They don't know how to say, hey, the market was bad. It is what it is. That downtime we had, we should have just focused on other things to continue the long-term momentum forward, right? So what ends up happening is they get stressed because they see, hey, my bank account's lower than it usually is. And I think what happens is they're not good at that stress management. And I've seen it in the past. They start taking it out on the employees. They start getting, you need to go sell something, like, why aren't you selling anything? Like they just start freaking out. They don't have that self-control. And like you said, some of them could be just bullies or jerks. But I think also, I mean, like you said, it's not really a mental health show, but I think part of it is they're not they can't control their emotions. It's like that emotional intelligence. And some of them, I think, lack that emotional intelligence, right? Of just realizing, like, I'm not going to lie, right at the beginning of this month it started really slow. And it started really slow because in this province, we've released restrictions. And what ends up happening is people want to get out. They want to go eat out again. They want to have those experiences. They want to go to the movie theater. Hey, let's go to the museum. We haven't been there for a while. So you know what? I understand and expect, and I knew sooner or later this was going to happen. People wanted to get out. They want to do different things. And
Yeah.
because of that, it's going to affect my business. But I also planned ahead. In that long-term thinking, I said, you know what? Sure, I'm making more money this month, but I'm going to put money aside because if I have a down month, and then when I have that downtime, I'm going to focus on making YouTube videos. I'm going to focus on changing my advertising. I'm going to spend some time on my website. You know, I'm going to spend a little bit more time with that customer when I'm at their house because I have that extra time compared to what I did before. And that's part of, what I think needs to happen instead of going, the money's not there, we're slow, let's take it out on somebody. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, having you really hit the nail on its head is just having the foresight. Like if you're caught flat footed, you lacked foresight. There's going to be downturns, right? In Ontario, where I am, there could be big snowstorms where people can't come to our restaurants. And, what is our safeguard? What's our contingency plan? You have to have those on. I call them light switch strategies. It's things that are in place that you can turn on like a light switch when something's going to happen. Sales dry up for whatever reason, weather related, the economy turns down, or, we go into a recession. So there's that part. The second part is if you can't manage your temperament, I would question whether one should be in that leadership position. Imagine flying an airplane and that pilot didn't have a good temperament during turbulence. Imagine a heart surgeon who didn't have a steady hand, stressed out easily. The same responsibility, we have the same responsibility as leaders within our organization, whether you're the CEO or a regional manager or a retail manager. And it's something that I'm constantly working on. And I referenced the heart surgeon and the airline pilot because I've recognized in myself, I said, I want to be a little more calm. Right? I look at people like Danny Myers from Shake Shack and Union Square Hospitality. I look at Howard Schultz from Starbucks or Bob Iger, formerly of Disney. And, I have not sat in the room. Well, I've met Danny Myers, but I haven't met Howard or Bob. But listening to them on podcasts, multiple times, watching their interviews, they seem like calm individuals. And I've recognized in myself that I can be a little high strung. I don't yell. I'm not demeaning or any of those bad things, but sometimes I can be, I need to calm myself a little bit more. So what am I going to do? Sit on my hands and just hope I naturally become a little bit more calm? No. What I did was I thought, what professions have individuals who are very calm or require that calmness and that cool equilibrium? And I thought, well, a heart surgeon better be calm. They literally have somebody's lives.
Shaky hand.
Exactly, right. That literally could kill somebody.
So delicate, right? Like, yeah, I could never be a heart surgeon.
Neither. I have trouble cutting my steak, right? So, and airline pilots, they have 300 people's lives that they're responsible for. During times of turbulence, I'm sweating out of every pore that I have. And I'm in the cabin. So I actually have calls. I'm happy you brought this up because I have calls booked in May with a heart surgeon and an airline pilot. Because my first question is going to be, how do you remain calm when the world's telling you not to be? And I learn. And maybe not everything will be relevant, but I'm confident I'll walk away with one piece of learning. And the ability to think long term. It's an investment. Just because you're a CEO, just because you're a leader of your organization, a manager, let's say, that isn't when your learning stops. It's when it has to be accelerated even more than it was when you were on the front lines.
Yeah, no, that's true. And the only way to be a proper leader is you need to fully, like, I believe this, you need to fully understand all the roles within the organization as well. Mm-hmm. And, I always think it's weird when and this is just me outside looking in, when they hire a CEO from another company, promote them in, but then they've never worked their way up within that company. So I always find, how do they have that same respect for all what's going on with that company when they have never worked from the ground up? But that's probably a whole of a different conversation, but it's just kind of that, gets the wheels turning, right?
Absolutely. Like, and it's a good thought, because how do you truly learn the business? And you have to be humble enough to be able to shadow individuals, see it for yourself, but then also surround yourself with people who are experts in those different divisions of the company or different departments. But for me, I would feel a sense of vulnerability if I did not know what each function did. Because how can you make sound decisions for the organization if it's just being, if the information that is being shared with you is coming from just one person, like the head of your department? For me, I would like to be able to have, be able to contribute to the conversation for every single department. But it doesn't mean that I have to be an expert in it, right? Like, I can't be an expert in finance, right? I don't have a finance background, but I need to know how to read a P&L and a balance sheet and be able to manage projections and costs. And that I know how to do.
But so the reason why I kind of want to touch up on it is because you were talking about how, once a month you at least try and go out and put yourself in their shoes and, serve tables and help out, right? And if you're doing that, and let's say you're in a listening culture, which means you are taking care of your employees and you're listening to them, and I don't know, Dave or whoever comes up to you and says, hey, really, we should do things this way. And you go, well, why should I do these things this way? And if you weren't working in the environment at all, you wouldn't understand what he's trying to explain to you. But because you are in there, you go, okay, I can see that. I can see how that could be a problem in our systems and processes. And because you can still, you can relate going, okay, so you're saying, like, when we go and grab the plate to bring it to the table, you're saying maybe that should be electronic instead of like a ticketed paper because the paper flies away. I'm just making up random things right now, right? But this is all, this is all stuff that can help because you understand, right? So,
well, so yes, that is part of the reason why I do it. The second part is respect for the people that do the work. I wouldn't ask somebody to do something that I wasn't willing to do myself. But then I couple that with something I call the Employee Advisory Board. So what we're launching at Brassett Peruvian Kitchen is that once a month, I'm going to sit down with one team member from every store that we have. And these team members will act like representatives of their store. And they won't be managers. They're going to be frontline team members. And we're going to talk about the current state of the company culture and our systems and processes. The reason why I don't want management in the meeting with me is because I already have those meetings with them. I want to hear what the front lines have to say. I want to crowdsource their ideas. And then after that meeting happens, I'll sit down with our management team and say, this is what I'm hearing. Now, this is a not off the record conversation. I don't want to create a culture of secrecy where people will say, yeah, our general manager is doing this. Like, we don't like that. Our general manager should know that their frontline employees are feeling this way, but it's an idea it's a way to crowdsource ideas, but it's also a fantastic way to build that next layer of leadership within your business, because that messaging is coming from your front lines. So it's a 2-hour meeting. We meet once a month with one frontline employee who's elected to be a part of the employee advisory board. They're elected by their peers. And they sit down with me. And before the meeting, I say, hey, Samantha, I want you to go to your team members, your peers at your store, tell them you have your employee advisory board on the 12th of May, and bring everybody's ideas. right? I'm not going to suggest that every idea that's brought forward is going to be one that we can move forward with, but I guarantee that they will come with some ideas that help us improve the business. And I'll give you an example. I've had this programming in multiple businesses, and one of which was this restaurant that was 4 floors, 16,000 square feet. It had 100 employees. It had $10 million a year in revenue. And in an employee advisory board meeting, one of our team members named Chantel said to me, I have an idea to help save the company some money in the future. I said, naturally, I'm like, okay, you've caught my attention. Help the company save money. And what we notice is with our dining room tables, there is a small gap between the metal frame and the wood flat top of the table. And what was happening, and only she noticed this because she's serving tables. She was one of our servers. What was happening is that when they were cleaning the tables, food was getting stuck between the wood table top and the metal frame. So it's unhygienic, but it was starting to make the wood deteriorate. So the solution she had was, I think we need to glue and with an adhesive, make sure that seal is tight. And we did. And that potentially, we got ahead of it, but that could have ruined our entire tables. And those tables aren't cheap. And they would have started to rot in a year, perhaps in a year and a half. But she had the foresight to be like, I think we need to do something here. I promise you, Benjamin, I would have never noticed. All I would have known is we have to buy new tables. And it would have been too late to ask why. But it came from an employee advisory board meeting. And that's how you crowdsource ideas from the front lines.
Yeah, it's very important to have a listening culture, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like that. I like that you say that, listening culture.
So when I worked at Best Buy, I was part of the Viewpoint Committee. That's what we called it. And we'd have meetings once a month. We talk about, what can we do to help with employee engagement. And we'd have little things like if a customer went up front to the front of the store and said, Ben gave me a really good job. They'd come and they give me a little sticker, and a little sticker would go on my name tag, and like things like that they would do, and if you get like 10 stickers, the general manager or whatever will bring you out for lunch or something. Right. So we had little things like that we would do that would make people strive to continue giving very good customer service. The other thing that I really want to talk about, and I brought it up on other podcasts too, of why it's important to have a listening culture. So when I worked at Best Buy, and early on at Best Buy, they were very much in this listening culture phase in Canada. And a lady at Rep One's like the ones who take your money when you're leaving. Okay. The regional manager was in one day, and he's watching this Rep One, and she keeps taking off and coming back, right? Keeps taking off, coming back, and nobody, and most businesses would have went up and said, hey, you're leaving your position. You shouldn't be. We pay you to take money at the till. That's your job. And it could have just ended like that. Instead, they said, hey, we notice you keep leaving and coming back, and this keeps happening frequently throughout the day. What's going on? And she said, well, what's happening is we don't have any snacks or treats, and people come in here with their kids all the time, and they want like a snack or a pop or something. So what ended up happening is, okay, so what are you doing? Well, they give me money. I go buy it and come back and bring them like their can of pop or their chips or whatever, because I have to go to our vending machine. So she was giving this amazing customer experience. And what she says, this is minimum wage. I think minimum wage was like $8-9 or something at the time. She's like, if we just had snacks and chips and stuff up here, I wouldn't have to do this. Yeah. And boom, it was like a month later, Fritos and Pepsi and Coca-Cola, everything, every single Best Buy store in Canada, all because of this lady just saying, hey, if we just had this. And I don't think she was going, I need to transform the company. That was just her saying, I have to do this because I want to give good customer service, right?
Do you remember how I said the customer-centric DNA? This person has it. And I wish I could find out where this person is working right now, because I would go and recruit them myself. But that's what we have to do. If we want a better customer experience, it starts with how we hire people. Think about the best dinner party you've ever been to. It was probably with like-minded people who you have common interests with, right? But you've also been to the party where one person drank too much, threw up everywhere, and ruined it for everybody. We have employees throwing up on our businesses right now, and it's our fault because we let them join the party, right? We have to be very strict in who we let join the party, right? We have to make sure we're asking the proper interview questions to know if this individual has the DNA to be customer centric, like this individual that you had shared. Somebody who has pride in their work. They want to do more than the minimum. That's a certain breed of individual, right? Sometimes I remember this person I worked with at 1-800-GOT-JUNK in the call center. She once told the director of the call center, she said, she was asked to do something. She said, that's not in my job description. She was fired the next day, and she should have been, right? That's not the culture that we want. But with your culture of listening, which I really like, I'll reference it. I really like it. My fiance and I have been together for nearly 6 years, and we're just about to get married, and we have a really strong relationship. And part of the reason we have a strong relationship is because we do sit down and regularly talk about the current state of our relationship. Like, what could I be doing better? And it's a two-way conversation, and we listen to each other, right? So I believe that that same practice can and should be brought into our workplaces, because the commonality is that it is human behavior, right? It is the expectations that we have of each other, whether it's with your domestic partner or with somebody you hire. And as soon as we start to see that maybe there isn't that much of a divide between the relationships we have in our personal life and the ones we have in our professional life, that's when things will start to get better.
Yeah, I would say my wife and I, what usually ends up happening is she'll say something like, the kitchen's always dirty when I get home. And then she'll say something to me. She'll get mad, and then I'll get mad. And then, an hour later I go, yeah, you're right. I should put more effort into that. but I mean, I am listening, but usually it's, I feel like for some reason, it's like I go on the defense, and I don't know what it is. I think it's just sometimes it's my personality on certain things. It's like I feel like I've let you down, so I go on the defense, like, I need to win. Okay, I've already lost. I've already lost. So then you realize, I'm sorry, you're right. I need to make more effort, right? So I mean but I guess that's how we communicate. We got the kids running around and everything, right? Like, the house was clean when I left. Yep, we got kids.
Yeah, that I do not have children yet, so I can understand, but I can't relate.
But yeah, that's so fun. I was curious, is there a book you've read that has influenced your life?
So I will admit I'm a great buyer of books and a poor reader of books. I have many of them, but I've read very few. However, I will say that Phil Knight's book, Shoe Dog, he was the founder of Nike, really had an impact in my life. Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix, came out with a book with a professor. I'm forgetting her name. It's called No Rules Rules, as in like not having rules in your business is a good thing. That was a paradigm shift for me. I've brought some of the practices from that book into Brasa, and I don't regret it. But those two books, I would say, have had a really, really impactful meaning to my career. Yeah.
So that's the founder of Netflix?
Yes, co-founder of Netflix and current CEO, I think, or co-CEO right now.
Oh, okay.
Reed Hastings.
Okay, yes. I actually heard an interview think it was Ed Milet interviewed the original, I think it was the original founder.
Co-founder, yeah, Rudolph, something Rudolph is his
Yeah,
last name. Yeah, yeah.
that was a pretty awesome interview. And I know he talked about how the other guy, which is probably the one whose book you read, about how he came in and at first he felt like, oh, this guy's taking my job. But then he realized that he's more of a startup guy. And he realized
Sure.
that's just who he is. Right.
Right.
And he felt that that guy was the right guy to take the company to the next level. And he goes, now look at how big it is. This thing I built, look how big it is now. Right.
Yeah.
And most people would look at it as like, no, look at that guy, you know, and look at it as like a negative thing. But I actually thought that like just the way he respectfully talked about it was awesome. I mean, and it made me think about, am I going to be a startup guy or am I going to be a guy who sees it through? You know, it always makes you kind of wonder, where are you going to be in the chain, right?
It's hard to be both, right? Like it's not everybody's cut out for both. You look at Howard Schultz from Starbucks. He didn't start Starbucks, he scaled it. Like he went from 9 stores to tens of thousands. Yeah, that is hard, right? But also starting things up is hard too, right? So, you know, you look at Mark Zuckerberg, say what you will about the individual, perhaps there's mixed opinions, startup and scaled, right? Like that, you know, again, say what you will about the individual and the company that he's built, but not easy, definitely not easy. So.
No, that's a very big company, right? So I was wondering if, just trying to think here. What is one thing you do or have done to provide a positive experience
for customers?
Yeah.
So the first thing that I would imagine that comes to mind is more of a framework, and it involves giving autonomy to our team members. And the framework is called micro customer experiences. So it's a small, it's a subtle, memorable gesture that we do for our customers that resonates with them for years. And it doesn't have to be expensive. So let's say, Benjamin, you come to our restaurant and, well, actually, let me give you a real life example of what has happened at Brass Peruvian Kitchen. A customer comes in, she's mentions to our team members that she wasn't having a good day because she's, you know, she was pregnant and was feeling nauseous and wanted to come and have a smoothie. So, you know, our team members, you know, said, okay, we're going to, you know, I'm paraphrasing, but said, we're going to make an amazing smoothie for you. We hope you feel better. The smoothie has vitamin C in it. So, you know, hopefully it'll kind of pick you up a little bit. And congratulations and good luck with the pregnancy. Off the customer goes. So that was a good experience in itself, right? We were all very hospitable. But what we did is that's where the micro customer experience program comes into action. Our team member made a note of how to get a hold of the customer. And I'm not certain of exactly how we found their contact information or her email. Perhaps she was a repeat customer and we already had this information, but the team went to a local Shoppers Drug Mart, and for any US listeners, that's like a Walgreens, and purchased things that a parent would need for a newborn child, like a rattle, a bib, and like little baby type things. And we got a hold of the customer and sent them this gift and just said, thank you so much for being a customer, in a handwritten card. Thank you so much for being our customer. We're really excited for you and your new family. We purchased a few things. Now that smoothie cost us $8, right? Sorry, the smoothie earned us $8 in revenue. And those gifts probably cost us $50, time inclusive, and the little things that we had purchased. So that is a big loss on that customer. However, I have the ability to think long term, and that is our greatest form of marketing. So instead of running to give Facebook money, What about the little things that you can do within your culture that is an investment into the long term? And here's the thing, Benjamin, that many people miss. If you hire the right people, they love doing these things, being given the autonomy to delight customers. Because, if you have a pulse, making somebody feel good also makes you feel good, right? And I don't think that's ever going to go out of fashion. I hope it doesn't. That's why before we started recording, we were talking about robotics and how that is going to impact the customer experience. For me, I don't want to go in a restaurant full of robots. Freaks me out.
Oh yeah, no.
I like the element of hospitality and the human touch to it. So that is how I would answer your question. It's our micro customer experience program, and any company of all size and all industries can do it. Like Benjamin, if I was your customer, you would know really quickly that I'm a Vancouver Canucks fan, and to my ever dismay. But use that customer intelligence. We call it CI, customer intelligence. Use that in some part of the customer journey. And I guarantee you want customer loyalty, hit me serve the thing that I really care about in my personal life. I have a dog named Maggie, $10 toy online with her name engraved on it or stitched on it. Your competitor would have to wrestle me away from you. I would have a deep relationship with your company if you serve the things that I really care about the most in my personal life. My parents, Sophia, my fiance, my sister Stephanie, my dog Maggie, and the Vancouver Canucks. There, all that information is online, by the way, too. You could find that. And some people might say that's a little creepy. Well, or a little invasive. I would argue that it's not. Because if I'm putting that stuff out there online, it's kind of for the taking, right? Because I feel comfortable enough saying that I love the Vancouver Canucks. Leverage that in some capacity. Leverage that I have a dog named Maggie that I post about on Instagram all the time.
I was going to say one little thing. So because of that gift that you gave, what you've most likely done is turned her into a disciple, basically, that's going to tell everybody about her experience and how much your company personally cared about her. So the $50 is really not really much in the grand scheme of things, because if 10 or 15 or 20 people come and spend $20 each, you've more than made up your money anyways.
Yeah.
And then if they end up getting a great experience, all of them, they're going to keep coming back. So
absolutely.
And that's the long-term thinking. And just wondering, do you have any, final words or anything you'd like to say to the listeners?
Build your business like it's the 1950s. And what I mean by that is stop running to Google and Instagram and all this stuff for transactional customer acquisition. Remember that word of mouth and repeat customers stem from two things: having a product that works and delivering an experience that has never been seen before in your industry. And organic growth, revenue that you earn through repeat customers and referrals, is highly profitable income, because you don't have to spend a lot of recurring marketing to be able to acquire those customers. And the reason I say 1950s is because Google wasn't a thing in the 1950s. Social media wasn't a thing. The only way they knew how to grow their business, entrepreneurs or leaders back then, was by giving a damn about their customers. And you can't give a damn about your customers at scale if you don't care about your team. So it starts there.
Yeah, which is funny. We were actually just talking about this the other day, about how if you look at how a business back then is, the majority of small businesses couldn't afford newsprint, couldn't afford television advertising. So it was all word of mouth.
I know. Exactly. So we need to go back to that. I would argue the entrepreneurs of that era were better than us now. Building a business right now is we have many tools. I won't say it's easy. We have many tools for scalability.
You know what you're doing? You can do something in 2 years that would take 10 or 20.
Exactly.
by utilizing technology. Yeah.
The megaphone is we have stronger megaphones, right? These social platforms and Google AdWords and so forth, right? Back then you had to grind, and I love that era. I obviously wasn't, but I wasn't a part of that era, but I respect that era a lot, and I would love to see more of it come back, which is why robots scare the hell out of me, and I don't want it. Not in my life.
Well, this was awesome. I wish you all the best with your business and your future endeavors. Likewise. And this was great getting to know you, and maybe we'll see you back in Vancouver one of these days.
All right, take care. And if anybody wants to connect with me, I'm Michel Falcon, Michel, Falcon like the bird, everywhere online. So feel free to connect with me there.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Focus on Customer Experience podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. For more information or to connect with Ben, check out Benjamin Del Grosso on LinkedIn, @Safe Drive Solutions on Instagram, or www.safedrivesolutions.ca online. We'll see you next time.